Welcome back to She's Probably Talking to Other Guys. I'm your host, Annie. We went through a few definitions of assumptions last week where ultimately it came down to the idea that assumptions lead to misunderstandings and sometimes completely missed relationships or friendships or interactions with people because of the assumptions that we've made. We also dove into the concept of clarity and how if we make an assumption and it starts to really bother us and we're overthinking it, then clarity is just the answer. And sometimes it's better to just ask and be a bit more direct instead of assuming. But assuming is and most likely will always be a huge part of our lives. I'm wondering if anyone has actually stopped and caught themselves mid assumption, realizing that you've made some assumptions throughout your day. So comment, send me a message. I'm really curious because I know that when I started working on this podcast, I start to check myself as I was making assumptions regardless of what they were about. So quick reminder, I'm not a therapist, psychologist, or an expert in human behavior whatsoever. Everything shared here is based on personal experience, opinions, and conversations over coffee with some friends. If you're struggling with something deeper, I always encourage you to reach out to a licensed professional. This is a judgment-free assumption checking zone, so take what resonates with you and leave the rest. Last week, I told you that the episode was called Things We Assume Are Red Flags, but maybe aren't. So we're going to dive in. I have a whole list of some common assumptions that are considered red flags, green flags. We're going to take them apart a little bit and try to see both sides of each one. Let's get into some common assumptions that happen in dating. I'm not necessarily going to pick all of these apart. I'm just going to list some. So if they don't text back quickly, they're not interested. That one is something we're going to dive into a little bit more. Jealousy means they really care. If they say, I'm over my ex, it's true. Ghosting means they don't like you at all. Physical chemistry will solve all problems. Moving fast means it's serious. Talking equals a relationship. And let's do one more. This is a good one. Being friends with an ex is always a red flag. So those, I feel like, are some common assumptions that come up in dating. Let's start to dive in, though, on a few of these, right? So if they don't text back quickly, they're not interested. I feel like with that assumption, it's tricky because everybody has their own life. And if we don't, if we just met them and we just exchanged numbers and started talking to each other, I don't feel that personally, I wouldn't think that I know them well enough to make that snap judgment there that they're not completely interested. If I could go back in time and not engage in the conversation, I would. So someone sent me a text. I'm talking years ago, and I truly, truly wish I never met this person. So when I'm teaching, I'm in lessons, 45 minutes usually-ish, and I don't have my phone with me. My full attention is in my lesson right now. I don't wear a watch, a smartwatch or anything. So whatever's happening on my phone while I'm teaching is happening, and I'm going to get back to it when I can get back to it. After my lesson or my lessons are over. I'm not going to look at it in the middle and deal with my own messages on someone else's time. That's just how I feel. I wasn't responding. It was probably one of my days, I would say. I used to have like 8 to 10 lessons in a row, right? So figure that's at least like 6 to 7 hours of me not responding because I'm not looking at my phone. They sent a message and they were like, okay, well, you're not texting back. You're obviously not interested. Bye. So then when I was done, I was like, what gives? Like, I was busy. I couldn't text back. Whatever I replied, it was basically along the lines of like, I'm busy. Like, I couldn't respond. I was teaching, yada, yada, yada. I wish I never sent that text. That was literally like the concept, like just the idea of me responding now. I'm like, why? It was a blessing in disguise, actually, that they thought I wasn't interested, but then I had to open my mouth. I think that it's hard to know someone's life if you're just getting to know them. So I don't think that the texting back quickly has anything to do with it necessarily. Maybe it does, but I don't know. So ghosting means they don't like you at all. I don't really feel I feel that everybody has a different explanation for why they ghosted. And sometimes I don't know that people ghost on purpose or think that they are. So I think that like they don't like you at all is a bit of a stretch. Maybe it just like wasn't the right time. Maybe they just like weren't feeling it and they were too shy to tell you. I think that there's a lot that goes into it when it comes to ghosting. And again, this could literally be like a whole episode all in one. But I think that that's a common assumption in dating, especially like, I mean, when you get ghosted, it sucks, especially if you like the person. But I think that there's so many reasons, and maybe that's a blessing in disguise if you've been ghosted. It just wasn't meant to be. I'm a big believer in what's meant to be will be. Talking equals a relationship. I think that that's like a hard line there because obviously, like, you don't want to feel like you're competing with other people, right? When you're trying to get to know someone, you want to know if you're the only one. I think that there's like, I mean, maybe some people thrive on competition, but I'm someone where like I don't want to be like having you sit there and decide like between a bunch of people. That's not my thing. But at the same time, I think understanding that talking to someone and getting to know someone doesn't mean that you're the only one like forever during that talking period. I think that it's still like exploring. That's a hard one because I feel like there's a line and everybody has like their own stance on where that is. But like I'm not going to be in competition with people to like try to get someone's attention. Not my vibe. This segment is called the Red Flag Hall of Fame. We are going to discuss some common red flags, some assumptions that are made based on red flags, and maybe how some of them can actually be turned into a green flag, because I think that, again, back to the word clarity, we can easily, well, not necessarily easily, but with some bravery, we can ask a direct question and try to get a direct answer. So let's do some common red flags that can be found in a potential partner or a partner. So ghosting or disappearing without explanation, constantly disrespecting your boundaries, excessive jealousy or possessiveness, avoiding important conversations, or lying or being secretive. So I think that a lot of these red flags, one, kind of depend on how long has this relationship been going on for, right? Like, is this a brand new and you're still getting to know each other? Or have you guys been together for a very long time and it's getting weird all of a sudden? Or maybe you're just noticing that these things have been there all along. Who knows? Everybody's different. So Ghosting or disappearing without explanation. I feel like ghosting has become like kind of normal these days. For whatever reason, and I think that it's hard, especially if you're the one who's been ghosted. I think it's hard to see things from the other side, especially if you really liked this person or you thought that everything was going so well. I feel like I ghosted someone before, not because I meant to, though. I'm not making an excuse for myself. Just like thinking back now on the situation, I wasn't really ready to go out with this person or just like anyone in general. So I feel like I just kind of stopped talking to them because I just like really wasn't ready, and I was too shy to say anything. Like the introvert in me like came out, and I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Like the people pleaser in me came out, and I was just like not having it. And instead of actually speaking up and saying something, I just stopped responding. So I'm guilty of that for sure. But again, I think that there's always an explanation for why it happened. Or maybe this person just does it, right? They could just be like a serial ghoster who does this. So you never really know. But disappearing without an explanation, I don't know, disappearing sounds a bit more mysterious than ghosting. Disappearing sounds like something shady happened. So that's definitely a red flag if it's like shady disappearance. Constantly disrespecting your boundaries. I feel like this one is all about clarity. Like if you've already told this person numerous times that they're disrespecting your boundaries or that they're like crossing the line, and you've already been like abundantly clear about it, that's definitely just like a red flag. If this is a new relationship and you haven't even talked about it yet or had a conversation about it, like, or actually spoken up about things that bother you, even if they're just like little tiny things, I feel like that's just normal until you talk about it. Excessive jealousy or possessiveness. So I'm a Sagittarius. We're a fire sign. We're very spicy. We say a lot of things and kind of think about it later. We're also very blunt and like brutally honest, but not with bad intention. I think that's kind of one of the misunderstood things about my sign, is that it's not a bad intention when we say something. It just comes out very blunt. So my point in saying this is like, I need somebody who's going to trust me like 1,000,000%. Because when I tell you that like I'm only seeing you and I'm only interested in you, like I mean it. So if you start getting possessive because I'm hanging out with like some of my guy friends who are clearly friends, like that's when me personally, I would get really irritated with like the jealousy and the possessiveness of it. I know that some people like that, and again, to each their own. If you like that they get jealous, or if you like that they're possessive of you, like that's on you, boo boo. So again, I think that these are all so like individual based on what everybody likes. But from my perspective, that would be a red flag for me if I've already been like abundantly clear with this person that like it's you and me, like nobody else. That like possessiveness would start to bother me personally. If they avoid labels, they're afraid of commitment. This one I think can definitely go either way. I feel like, in a sense, there are some people who just don't like labeling things. There are some people who are just not going to get married, and not because they don't love the other person. There are some people who just like literally have 0% interest in getting married, but that doesn't mean that they're not committed to the other person necessarily. I think that like I know some people who have been dating for like 8 to 10 years and no proposal, no nothing, and they're still together. They seem like everything is still good to go. And a lot of their friends are already married, but they're not in a rush. And I think that that's totally fine because that's what makes them happy. So again, I think that's a very individual assumption. That could be wrong. I feel like maybe early on it could be true that they're afraid of commitment if you're noticing that you've been in that talking phase for a very long time, like very, very long time, and you simply just want to like know that you can call this person your significant other. I think that that's something that could be semi concerning, especially like early on. I mean, if they don't even want to be known as your boyfriend or your girlfriend, that could be a red flag that stays a red flag. But I think that the more you get to know someone, if you're already dating, right, and you've been together for a really long time, I don't know that like people are necessarily afraid of commitment. I mean, commitment is a lot, especially depending on what the commitment is. I mean, like a commitment for a job, a relationship, like they're all different depending on what it entails. But I think that it's definitely something that could be a green flag, because I don't think it's necessarily going to mean at the end of the day that they're afraid of commitment or they don't want to be with you. I think that you could still definitely be with someone as long as you're okay with that, though. Like, you have to be okay with something like that. If they're slow to open up, they're hiding something. I think that this one can be really tricky. I don't necessarily immediately think that someone's hiding something. Being someone who's like an introverted extrovert, like now I will blah 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 blah, because I'm alone and I'm like in my element and I'm like completely in a situation where I feel like I can be 100% me, right? When I'm with my best friends or when I'm with my best friend's family, I am like an unhinged party animal. Because, and that's like, I don't drink, just it's a personal choice. I don't drink alcohol. That's me being sober. I am like wild. I am loud. I am crazy. We are talking about like all kinds of subjects. We are getting in heated, fun debates about things, playing games, dancing, all kinds of things. And it's just because these are people that make me feel really good. And these are people who I know love me like unconditionally. So if I'm slow at opening up, it's because I know I'm a lot and I'm nervous. Like, it makes me feel so vulnerable to try to open up to someone, especially someone new. And if they're shy as well, it's hard for me. And it takes me a while, like, to even muster up the courage just to say, hi, how are you? But it doesn't mean that I'm hiding something. It means that I am literally just like trying to get the courage to talk to you because I'm really shy and I want to be able to show my whole personality. That's the thing. Like, I want to. I'm not hiding it. I'm nervous and I'm shy that you're going to think I'm too much. And there's always that quote, like, if I'm too much, go find less. Like, all of that. I know that. But again, so I don't think it's necessarily hiding something. Now, I'm sure that there are people who are hiding things and people who are being secretive about it. But I don't necessarily know. I don't know if there's a correlation between those two things. Between someone opening up and someone hiding something. Because I do think that it's highly possible for someone to be super open or appear to be super open and then be like completely hiding this whole other side of them that you didn't even know existed or had no idea it existed. So I don't know that there's a direct relation between someone being slow to open up and someone hiding something. I feel that it could actually like really easily go the other way, where someone would like talk your ear off and then just keep other pieces that they are hiding, like a total secret, and just like never let you onto it. I don't know. That one is suspicious to me. An assumption based on a green flag. If they communicate openly, they really want to connect. This, again, even though it's considered a green flag, I feel like this can go either way because I have met like some serious smooth talkers, right? I have met some people and I have some friends who are like, oh, so and so like said this about you. And then they like kept bringing this person up. And then when it came time for me to like finally make a move on what they said, it was like complete confusion, right? So I feel like sometimes you can just totally be a smooth talker and lead people on. But on the other side of it being a green flag, communication, like, and being open about it is always a good thing. Like, communication is truly like key. So many things can go right and you can avoid so many arguments with our favorite word, clarity. Being clear and communicating can really help to avoid conflict. If they support my goals, they're genuinely invested in me. I think that can be a super duper really nice green flag, to always have a support system and to feel supported, to see maybe their presence there supporting you, or they're texting you to support you, whatever it might be. That's always like a really good sign and a really good green flag. I feel like the opposite side of that is when people have told me that like some people supported their goals to a certain level, and then once they reached that level, the balance kind of shifted a little bit, where the other person started to feel like superior to the other or inferior to the other. And then when that kind of shifted, a lot of other things inadvertently shifted, and then the relationship kind of just like went downhill. So that would obviously get rid of the genuinely invested in me portion of that assumption. Again, I said before, this is like a judgment-free zone. We are literally just like going through completely different perspectives of these. If they're emotionally available, they're mature and stable. Okay, so being available doesn't mean that you're emotionally available. But I feel like that's something that's really hard to gauge. I don't know many people, maybe this is a thing, but I don't know many people who go, oh, I'm emotionally available. I feel like personally that's something that I found out, whether they were or weren't, like later down the road, and I do wish I knew earlier. From people who are younger than me, same age as me, older than me, significantly older than me, everybody's at like a different stage. I've never felt that based on someone's age that they were more or less like emotionally available, or that they were more mature or more stable. When I went through a phase like dating older, we'll get into this. I need my best friend here for some of these conversations. They were not mature and they were not stable, like whatsoever. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure that there are plenty of fish in the sea who are, but I did not attract those fish. They were not mature, not stable, and definitely not emotionally available. So for me, like, age is just a number in a sense. Obviously, I don't know, I feel like I need to point this out. Obviously, a legal age, okay? Don't take that the wrong way when I said age is just a number. Obviously, legal age. But to me, I don't know. I've never found that whether they were 5 years younger than me, 5 years older than me, 10 years older than me, I've never found, possibly 14 years, I'm not sure. I've never found that they were any more emotionally available, mature, or stable. It's like all across the board. So assumptions based on green flags, I would like give that a hard pass for sure. If they make me feel safe, I can trust them. That's like a really sweet assumption. I think that that's really sweet. I do think that there are a lot of people who can make you feel safe, 100%. And I think that that can go like a lot of ways, like physically safe, emotionally safe, mentally safe, literally safe. It's a really sweet assumption. And I hope for most people that that is true. And I really hope that that isn't like a green flag assumption that can be true for most people. If they respect my time and space, they understand healthy relationships. I do think that that's a great assumption based on a green flag. I do. Because a healthy relationship is like the goal for most people, right? Again, to each their own. But having like someone who respects your time, they respect your space, that's amazing. I love that. They understand healthy relationships. I feel like, again, everybody's definition of a healthy relationship is different. Everybody wants a certain amount of time, a certain amount of space. It could definitely like go the wrong way in the sense of maybe then they start respecting it too much and now all of a sudden you don't really get to spend that much time with them. But again, I feel like that's more of a conversation that needs to be had for the clarity, that word again, of what's actually going on, right? So like if they're respecting your time and your space and then they think maybe that you want more but you don't, then you just have to have like a conversation with it about it. But that overall sounds like a good assumption to make based on a green flag. But understanding a healthy relationship, again, there's so many layers to it. I know we've been going back and forth with like what's a red, what's a green, and kind of seeing both sides of them. If they want alone time, they might not be into me. I think alone time, in my opinion, is always great. I think that there are people who really need their space in order to always show up as their best self. And even though you might be together for a while, or maybe this is new, I know that I'm someone who like needs to recharge, right? So maybe like you can be in the same room as me, right? But I'm going to sit here for hours, like being silent, just doing my thing, right? And that doesn't mean I'm not into someone. That literally means like I need to recharge my batteries and like get myself back together again for whatever reason. Maybe it was like a really rough day, or maybe I've just been overthinking way too much, whatever it might be. I just think that, again, there needs to be a conversation about what you want and what the other person wants and what you guys are both okay with. So again, wanting alone time, I can vibe with that. And sometimes I get that that can be taken offensively by the other side. But then I think that when they realize that it's because I want to show up as like my best self for this person, they realize that it's not really offensive to them. Like, not that I don't want to be spending time with them. It's that in order for me to like not be a complete gremlin spending time with you, I need to be alone first, just for a little bit, to kind of like get myself put together again. So I think that that's, again, something that just needs to be a conversation and you guys need to be on the same page about it. So the red flag in that would be that so if we use me as an example, that I could easily make someone think I'm not interested simply because I like need a weekend alone. And that can be offensive. I get that. Avoiding important conversations. I am guilty of this. But again, I'm going to say that for me, it's not a red flag because, like, if the mood is calm, it's just me and the person talking, like, we are relaxed, I don't feel like I'm in trouble for something or like I'm being accused of something, then I'm good, right? But if the situation is like a little off, or I feel like something weird is happening, like I'm gonna avoid a conversation because I don't like confrontation, which I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress, but avoiding important conversations, like consistently and not trying to have them at all, or not trying to find a way to have them, can definitely be a problem. Lying or being secretive, it's just not cool. I saw something the other day, and now it's going to take me like a moment to actually remember it. It was something about, it had to do with social media and like sharing your life on social media, and how it's not like, sometimes people aren't being secretive, people are just being private, because everybody has like their own right to their privacy and what they want to share on social media or what they don't want to share on social media. So I think that lying and being secretive, there's always like a really bad side to it. But again, if you have a conversation with someone and they're not being secret about you, they just want it to be like a bit more private, and they don't want to necessarily share their personal life on social media, I think that that's a different story. Oh, another meme I saw, I call them memes, but they're kind of like little quote, something along the lines of like, I'm okay with being like private, but I'm not going to be your secret, something like that. That's definitely something that could be, the whole secret part can be a bit shady. So I would agree that that could be a red flag if they're being shady, or if they're constantly lying. Like, trying to surprise someone and lying about something, that's like not a big deal because they were trying to surprise you with something. But if it's like some shady lying, we are not interested in that. Well, I'm not, sorry. To each their own. And now moving into the power of asking instead of assuming. So you can be seen as like incredibly direct. Maybe some people will think it's like too overpowering. But again, if you want to know, like an example, hey, are you bad at texting, or are you just not into this, right? You're going to find out. I mean, hopefully they tell you the truth, but you're going to find out, because either they're going to get better at texting, or at least now you know they're bad at texting, so you know that you shouldn't necessarily expect a response right away. My best friend is terrible at texting. Terrible. Like, this girl could lose her phone in a ditch for 3 weeks and she wouldn't care. There have been numerous times I have reached out to her siblings because I want to know that she's okay. All right? Like, she is just bad at texting, and I love her to pieces. She is like my soul sister. I love her. And there are times when, like, I've gone through a breakup, she is there 24/7. There are times when I'm going through something that's like really hard for me, and she is there 24/7. But most of the time she is MIA, and I am just fingers crossed hoping for the best that she is thriving in whatever the heck she is currently doing. But again, like, for that, I know with her to expect like a turnaround of a long time before I get a response, right? Sometimes I forget what we were talking about by the time she responds. But it's sometimes as simple as asking that, like, you just not into this? Because if they're not, just let it go and move on, right? So that way you get your answer and you don't have to wonder what's going on. And is it you? Is it something you said? Like, you don't want to sit there and stress yourself out with that, do you? I don't know. Maybe you do. I don't. So we're going to ask instead of assuming. I'm going to throw YOLO out there for you for a little bit. You only live once, so you can wonder what's going on. You can make assumptions about what's going on, or you can find out if you ask. Now, keep in mind, I know asking is not always easy. I know. Trust me. I know. I'm going to share a personal experience. I still want to do a whole episode based on this entire experience, but I'm going to pull a little bit into it now. So, I don't even know how long ago it was, because it was literally like, if you're watching the video, you can see how big my smile is. I got to spend the weekend with the Sports Illustrated swimsuit team, which was absolutely amazing. I felt like, being a shy person and being more of an introvert, I felt like it was a moment for me where I made friends very quickly. I opened up much faster than I ever usually would. So for me, it was like a whole learning experience as well. So again, I'm going to try to get to the point, and then I'll save the rest of this for later. I was in the audience of a live podcast taping, and Xandra was there. I believe Brooks Nader was there. I'd have to rewatch the video and actually go through my photos to be 100% certain. But I know Xandra was there, and I know that Brooks was there for sure. So the question was basically like, it was a little game called Sink or Swim, where sink, like no way, swim, yes way. So they asked about like something along the lines of how quickly you would like open up on a first date, or if you would just kind of like lay it all out there, say exactly what you're looking for, or if you would keep it a bit more like under wraps for a little bit longer until you got to know this person, right? And Xandra was, and I'm just quoting this from memory, this is may not be exactly the question, or it's definitely not the exact question or the exact answers, but Xandra was the only person who said that she would just lay it all out on the table. And I have to say that I actually like am in the phase where I 100% like would agree, and I would put my paddle up to swim with Xandra, because for me, I just feel like there's been so many misunderstandings and just so many silly things that have happened in previous relationships, where I would want to like kind of lay it all out, like I can't talk, lay it all out on the table. So for me, I feel like the clarity helps me as an overthinker. Now again, I would be slightly hesitant in like the reaction of someone like receiving what I'm saying, like just being like, I'm gonna put it all out there, okay, like you tell me like yay or nay kind of thing. But again, at the end of the day, I think it has to go with, is this your person or not? Because if they are, then they should in theory respond well to you just laying it all out on the table. So I thought that was really interesting that she was the only person who would kind of lay it all out there. Like I totally would at this point. And I think that her and I think we're different generations. I'm considered a millennial, and I believe she is, I think she's like 24 maybe. I'm not sure. She's gorgeous. She's amazing. But I agree with her. And I would totally just like lay it all out there for the sake of clarity, because I'm an overthinker. And I know that I would sit there and I would wonder, ooh, but like when it comes time for this person to join me at my best friend's house and see how like absolutely unhinged I can be with my people, are they still going to be there? Right? And be like, that's my girl. So for me, I'm all down to be clear as possible, clear as day, being yourself. I think that at the end of the day, you're going to attract what's meant for you. And in order to do that, you need to be yourself. And it's hard because of whether you're nervous or you want to fit in. And I just think that the more experiences that I have, I've attracted much better circles by being myself than being who people wanted me to be. And it's hard because you don't know until you've actually been in that situation sometimes. But definitely being yourself, for sure, is going to help with less problems later on, because you want to be yourself in your relationship, don't you? I do. We are wrapping up. So this was full of red flags, green flags, assumptions, long-lasting relationships, maybe some rocky ones, but I hope you enjoyed this episode. I feel like there is so much more we can continue diving in on. If there's like some seriously like wild assumptions that you've experienced, maybe somebody's assumed it about you, or maybe something you assumed about someone else that either was like true and your jaw dropped, or it was wildly false, just comment or send it to me. I would totally be open to doing a little deep dive in a different episode. So the challenge is, I want you to check how many times you've been assuming, what you've been assuming about, whether it's love, friendship, your career, and stay tuned because next week our episode is Not Everyone Gets a Front Row Seat to Your Life. I'm really, here's the word again, excited about this one. So stay tuned because we're going to have a lot of fun with this topic, and I'm so excited for you to be on this journey with me. Follow, subscribe. Let's keep it going. Thank you for tuning in.